Hello, and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world about their music and process for making it. I'm your host, Brian Holguin, and today I had the chance to talk with singer-songwriter Addisyn Chafe. Without further ado, here's the interview. What instruments do you play?
I play guitar and piano and a little bit of ukulele, but I don't use it very often.
And then, do you have one that you prefer to use? In your recordings, it's mostly like guitar, right?
Yes, guitar all the way. However, I actually was not the person who tracked the guitar on this album. There's a single that's out that's not on the album. It's called My Prayer for You, and I did the guitar for that, but I did not track the guitar for this album.
So when you say track, you mean play it for the album, right? But do you have any voice in writing the chords or how the song goes?
Yeah, so I wrote all of the melodies and all the lyrics and everything before we started recording. And once we started recording, my producer, J.R. Taylor, created all of the synth and all of the other tracks. But all of the chords originally I had done. We switched a few to make them harmonize a little bit better. But yeah.
So you said you grew up in Colorado?
I did. Yeah, we moved to Austin, Texas when I was 8. We moved here for my sister who had really bad asthma up in the altitude, and we just switched it out for my allergies. So.
Okay. You said 8. By that time, were you already deeply into music? Was that something that, as you grew up, became a giant love? Where did you pick up your love for music?
When I was 9, so actually after we moved here, I got
my
first guitar and I started teaching myself how to play guitar and piano, and then writing came really quickly after that. It was all kind of a very natural progression for me. There were terrible, terrible songs at first, of course. 10-year-old me was not a good songwriter, but I kept going, and just my love for music increased with every lyric that I wrote and every new chord that I learned, and I just fell so deeply in love with it that I couldn't let go of it.
And was there a moment where you decided, like, yes, music is what I want to do, or just that eventual growth got to you?
There were multiple moments where I decided to do this. Growing up, my thing, people would say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a famous singer. And that is not what I would say now at all. But during high school, I kind of started to question my calling, I guess, and I started to get really nervous that maybe I should do something else and maybe I can do music on the side. And so I tried to do everything on the earth. I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Navy actually for a little while, which is so funny to me now. Like, I would not be good at that at all, but I had thought about that. I wanted to be a flight attendant. I tried to go to school to be a nurse, and just every time I would try a new thing, the door would be closed, and eventually I just got so frustrated that I truly out of frustration and angst, and I was so angry, I just literally prayed and was like, God, what is your problem? Like, what, enlighten me. What is it that you would like for me to do? And he showed me so graciously every time the last 5 years before that he had pointed me to music, and I hadn't seen it because I had been so busy looking for answers that I had not even stopped to listen for them.
Okay. And see, that's interesting because I was going to bring up, you don't hide your religion at all. You wear it very proudly like a badge. And I was just wondering, a lot of artists and stuff like that, they tend to hide things. And was it a very important decision for you, or just something that naturally came about, expressing your religion through your music?
I have always written both. I've written secular and Christian for as long as I've seriously been writing. When we first started talking about the album, after the final decision to do music for a living, my producer and I sat down and we started talking about, okay, is this going to be secular? Is this going to be Christian? And I had always kind of assumed that I would have to pick one or the other. And we talked about it, and we decided that God is in every aspect of my life, and I would be remiss to try to remove him from any part of the career that he has given me the ability to do.
And that's something I picked up on when I was listening to your music. You talk about specifically relationships, whether it be secular relationships you've had or your relationship with God. Do you feel you use your music as a way to kind of explore what you're thinking or what you're feeling about things?
Absolutely. I cannot even tell you how many times that I have processed something through writing a song about it. I'm an audible processor, which I actually didn't even realize until like this last year, which is ridiculous to me that I didn't realize that. But it's songwriting is like to me, the most potent form of auditory processing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can't even tell you how many times I wrote a song and then kind of felt super at peace or had a realization even about whatever it was I was writing about, and just was able to kind of move on. I said, okay, I put all of my feelings about this into these lyrics, and now I can put it away and move on and be done.
That's really interesting. So speaking of your songwriting process a little bit, talk to me about how a song begins. Is it some ideas in a sketchbook, just a phrase that comes to you? How does a song start off?
So for me, I know a lot of songwriters who will have a designated, today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. And that has never worked very well for me. Every time I've done that, the song has not turned out very well. So for me, I just look for inspiration in everything that I do. I interact with a lot of different people, and I just give myself a lot of opportunities to be inspired. And so I put it all out there and hope for something to come to me. And when it does, then I can sit down and I can really dig in once the inspiration comes to me first.
And you wait for that kick to motivate everything else?
Yes.
Okay. So specifically in your song, My Prayer for You, there's a line, "He composes harmonies of the divine." Was there anything specific that inspired that line, or?
Yeah. So that line is about prayer specifically. It's about how when you really put your heart into talking to God, He will come and meet you where you are. You don't have to be saying the perfect words, and you don't have to be in the perfect position, in your life that day. You don't have to be in the perfect frame of mind. You can just come where you are and you can lay it all out, and God will come and meet you, and He will speak to you where you are. And that's really what that line is about.
Okay, so then talk to me a little about how you incorporate instruments. You tend to not add that many, really, right? It's just guitar and piano mostly, but sometimes you throw in a little bit of violin. What's your process for that?
A lot of that was my producer. He has an incredible ear for hearing, here's the song that you've brought to me. Here's the song that I wrote, and now let's figure out what the best way to convey what this song was supposed to be is going to be. So I'll just bring him, here's my song, here's me with my guitar and my lyrics and my chords, and this is it. And he can hear almost immediately. I've heard it so many times. I'll play him a new song and he's like, oh man, I can already hear all the synth stuff I'm going to use. He can hear like specific plugins he wants to use in certain places. It's super cool. And so we talked about specifically on My Prayer for You, when we had the string quartet, we had talked about using this composer who both of us know, and we've used him before, and he wrote this beautiful string quartet, and it really completed the song. It's like what it was always supposed to be.
Cool. Do you find yourself frequently working with the same people, or do you like to go out and explore and find new sounds?
Well, so far, I've only done this one album. This is the first one, and there's actually a second half of this album that I'm releasing in the fall. This was Lost. I'm releasing Found later this year, and so for both of those, they're already done. And for both of those, I used the same producer for the whole thing, and I used the same composer for both of the songs that needed horns and or strings. But we got to also interact with and work with a lot of different people. For example, like the string players, I now, follow them on social media and get to see what all of them do. And I get to interact with the horn players from time to time. And so it's been a great, not just a networking tool, but a great way to find other people who have the same passion about your craft that you do. And that's been really cool.
And then I'm assuming you get to work off their energies as well. It just becomes a great experience for everyone involved, right?
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little about your tempo. I know this is your first album and you mostly do slower tempo music. Do you feel like you'll explore a little bit into going, I don't know, maybe a little bit more worship, more fast tempo, or is this what you like, this is you?
So Lost has a lot of slower stuff on it because maybe I'm just not this kind of songwriter, but I have a really hard time writing fast songs about darker things or sadder things or whatever. And Lost has all of those concepts on it, all the darker, sadder, slower stuff. But Found has a lot of really upbeat, really energetic stuff on it that I'm really excited to share. It's a totally different vibe. I mean, very intentionally, they're complete opposites, and so it's going to be really cool.
I'm super excited to hear that.
Thanks.
Did you have that idea beforehand? How did the idea of 2 albums come out?
Well, when we first started this project, it was just supposed to be a little, debut EP, like 5 or 6 songs, and let's just do it and get it out there, and get your first toe in the water of this industry, and then we'll go from there. Somewhere into the first year of this project, this was a 2.5-year project, and somewhere in the first year, I said, hey, what would you think about doing, to my producer, I said, hey, what would you think about doing a Lost and Found sort of deal? And he was like, oh my gosh, I love that idea. So then it turned into 20 EPs to create a full album, and so that's the final project.
Final result of that, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I that probably also helps with kind of how it flows, right? Because you don't want an album to just dramatically change tone, or might be hard to incorporate all the songs in one album.
Exactly. Yeah. It works logistically and practically and
thematically,
conceptually, and that was my biggest thing, is that you can't know that you're found unless you've already been lost. It's 2 completely different but essential parts of the human experience, if you will. Everyone has to go through both of these things, and I learned through this process that the more specifically you write about your experience, the more universal your experience becomes, and people actually connect to the more specific pieces of writing and pieces of lyric, because those are the most honest things that you can write.
That's a great concept, and you can really hear your emotion and your voice through this music, and I'm really excited for the Found part. But tell me a little bit about yourself. I've noticed, and I think you're wearing it right now, your necklace. You show it off proudly. Does it have a special meaning?
It does. This necklace is, it's a cross, but it's also a treble clef, and so it combines the 2 things that are most important to me, my music and my faith. This was a graduation gift, and I wear it every day. I love it, and it's really become, like you said, it's kind of become a part of who I am. It reminds me of why I'm here.
Why you do everything?
Yes, exactly.
So what does your normal daily routine look like? Do you wake up and, tell me about your normal routine. What do you do when you wake up?
So I am a teacher. I teach music lessons, and that's my full-time gig. So I teach guitar, piano, ukulele, and voice, and so that's pretty much every day for me. I go all around Austin to my students' homes, and I teach them music, and there's never a dull moment. It's really exciting, because when you're teaching someone something as complex, but not just, technically, music is so universal, and it excites people, and it has an effect that nothing else on the earth can have on people. And so teaching people that is the most exciting thing ever. And I love that I get to have a job that's in my field, but I get to bring up the next generation of people like me, and people like my producer, and people like y'all who get so excited about music and just want to share it. And so I do that. And I lead worship at a couple different churches around Austin, and I love doing that. That's really something that I've fallen in love with the last few years. And I hang out with my dog and go off-roading, and that's what I do.
That's what you do. Do you feel you learn as much as you teach with your music lessons?
Absolutely. Most of my growth, especially in guitar, and my understanding of music theory also, has grown in the last couple of years that I've been teaching pretty much full time. And yeah, every single time I teach somebody something, I learn that, that much more for myself as well.
So talk to me about your future. You said Found is coming out soon. Do you have any other projects in mind? Maybe, more music, or maybe working with a worship group. What's the future for Addisyn?
That is a big question. Well, right this second, my project that's right in front of my face right now is live performance. It's an avenue that I haven't stepped a whole lot into. It's really scary, but it's also super exciting because I know that as soon as I get into it, I'm gonna be obsessed and I'm gonna want to do it every day. And so that's the very next thing, and then Found's coming out, and then after that we will have God willing and the creek don't rise, we'll have some more music out in the next few years or so.
The next few years. So you're touring right now. Are you touring in Austin? You're staying local to the Austin area?
I am staying in Austin right now. My first bigger tour, meaning outside of Texas. And Texas is pretty big, don't get me wrong. You can drive for 8 solid hours and not even be out of the borders yet. It's ridiculous. But my first out-of-state tour is not going to be until after Found, at least. So. Okay.
And I know this is kind of in the future, but do you think once you start doing those live performances, you'll combine both albums in one performance, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep, and I already do. I play songs from Found already, and we actually did it at the release party for Lost. We played a few songs from Found to kind of get interest going. Add a different vibe because it's a completely different feel. So I definitely look forward to being able to play the entirety of both in one performance for sure.
Perfect. So where can fans keep up with you? Social media, your own website?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. It's my name, AddisynChafe.com. It's spelled kind of weird, so
I'm pretty sure we'll put a link. Yeah.
Yeah. But my website, Facebook, YouTube, my lyric videos are up there. And then I'm also on, if you want to listen to my music, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, and anywhere else that you can stream music.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a blast talking about you and your very emotional craft. I do feel a huge energy coming from you that this is what you do, this is what you enjoy.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I've loved interacting with y'all as well. And I can't wait to do it more in the future.
I hope so. When Found comes out.
Yes.
Thank you to Addisyn Chafe for talking to us about her music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/studio67ncc, or you can also head over to youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can follow us on Instagram at Studio67ncc. Thank you all for watching. I'm Brian Holguin, and I'll see you when I see you.